Hey everyone, Soriamini here. This is the first video on my channel, so excuse me if I sound a little bit nervous. Anyway, so today I just wanted to talk about my process for this little request that I got on DeviantArt. You can see the reference in the top left corner. And specifically, I wanted to talk about sort of the issues that arise when something that you intended to just have as a warm-up or sketch, you try and turn that to a finished piece and then you get stuck halfway in the middle. So anyway, starting out, I usually plan for all of my requests to just be sketches or warm-ups just to loosen my hand, and I save all the detail and all the dynamic poses and non-standard lighting for personal pieces and for commissions. So what I mean by dynamic poses and non-standard lighting, I guess I can explain that through saying that it's the opposite of what I have here. So for me, my two go-to poses for warm-ups are either having a portrait where the subject is looking straight at the viewer, very easy to use the symmetry tool there, or I have a 3/4 shot like here, and arms are just plain at the side and it's very static and boring, and they're not really doing much. It's not very interesting composition-wise. And for non-standard lighting here, I have what I consider to be standard lighting. I mean, obviously you can't see it right now, but later on you'll see. I have just a standard front light, nothing very adventurous, like backlighting or, you know, like a side light or something like that. Nothing special like that. It's just going to be very basic, boring, standard front lighting. So, as you could probably tell by now, this piece was supposed to be just a sketch. I'm keeping everything very simple and basic. It's just supposed to be a quick 20-minute sketch to loosen my hand. And up until this point and a little further, it does stay that way. The line art is very messy and simple. For finished pieces, I have clean line art, obviously, and also line art for different sections on different layers. Like the shirt line art would be a different layer, hair line art would be a different layer, which means I can very easily change the line art color of each section. Here, since it's just a quick sketch, I'm just keeping it all on one layer. I'm keeping it very basic. The flat colors are also very simple, and initially my plan was just to stop at the flat color and just leave it there. But then I eventually got to this, I'll just do like a little bit more. I'll just do a tiny bit of shading on the face, which you can see right here. I'm not going to do that much, and then it just kept snowballing a little bit. You'll see that when we get to the hair shading. I end up going a little bit more detailed than I want with the hair shading. We're not there yet though, so I'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, face shading, because I was still of the mindset at this point that it was just going to be a sketch, the shading's just really simple. Just, you know, light blush, a little bit of eye shading. On a side note, I find it kind of funny that for the face, I have either two ways of shading it. Either I do a lot of blush, so the cheeks are almost the darkest part, or I have the cheekbones really emphasized, so the cheeks are the lightest part. I don't know why I have such opposite ways of shading it, but anyway, we're starting to get to the hair. I probably should have stopped right around here, but that didn't happen. And what happened is I started building up the highlights and shadows to a point where it started looking too detailed for the rest of the piece. It was almost like the hair was overworked compared to the rest of the piece. Now, if it were a finished piece, that would be great, but the hair looks just way too detailed compared to the face and the very messy line art and everything else. And it's also an issue that recently in my recent works I've been trying to develop a messier style, like artfully messy, because my normal work is always very clean and precise and a lot of cell shading, so I've been trying to move towards painterly and like artfully messy. Like if you know Virio13 on DeviantArt, her art is just amazing. She's a huge art inspiration, and her art is like, it's intentionally messy in a way that I really want to emulate, because I feel like my work is it almost feels kind of like manufactured because it's so precise. It doesn't have a lot of like personality to it. So I've been trying to go more messy, but that didn't happen here. It started getting a little clean. You can see a bit of cell shading in the sweater, and it lost that bit of personality which I felt like was there from the messy line art. And now that I was almost overworking the shading, the line art looked more like laziness more than, you know, sort of like an intentional sketch. I mean, sometimes you just see these really beautiful sketches which are beautiful because of how like messy they are, and it feels like there's a sense of personality in that messiness. But now compared to the shading, the messy line art just didn't fit. But I was still half of the mindset like, oh, this is just a sketch, I don't need to make it super detailed. So I didn't clean up the line art, which didn't fit with the shading. So that just, there's this imbalance, and the line art just looked lazy instead of intentionally messy, which is something I need to work on. Like, I think it's really important when you make a piece, you need to commit to what you want it to be. Either you commit to making it look like a messy sketch, or you commit to making it look like a very clean, finished piece. Like if you go in the middle, it looks something like a finished piece where you got lazy and didn't clean up certain parts of it. Like either make it very clear that it's either a sketch or a finished piece, which I unfortunately did not do here. Though I must say I'm quite happy with how the hair did turn out, all things considered. Even though it doesn't fit with the rest of the piece, I'm really happy with how the hair shading came out. So yeah, here I'm cleaning up a couple things, adding a bit of background, nothing super fancy. I wasn't sure what I wanted for the background, honestly. I mean, I didn't think that far. Like with finished pieces, I do think about the background because, you know, it's supposed to be a finished piece with like a clear composition. But since this started out as a sketch, I didn't think about composition, which is another issue. Like I need to make sure from now on to commit from the start with whether I want it to be a sketch or a finished piece, because if I start with sketch and then it turns into a finished piece, I don't think about composition and values and contrast all that much. Like here you see there's not much contrast in the sweater and stuff because it was supposed to be a sketch, which is an issue. So in the future I do need to commit a lot more to saying, okay, if this is a sketch, I am absolutely not under any circumstances going to make it finished. Or I start out making a finished piece, which, you know, I plan things out the way I need to. I think in the future, to achieve that sketched look I'm looking for, I should use not this hard pen brush that I use for the line art here. I should use maybe something a bit more transparent, and also I should stay away from the airbrush for shading. I should start using paint brushes and different textures and stuff. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later.